very good evening to you and welcome to Primetime News, coming to you live from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. My name is Krishan Devasgayam.
And I am Hirani Karunaratna. Here are tonight's top stories.
Who blocked fair compensation over Express Pearl disaster? SJB MP Ajit P. Pereira calls for probe into Express Pearl handling. SJB suspends membership and all positions of Charit Abesingha. Charit Abesingha served as secretary at Vijayadasa's law office during alleged bribery period, says SJB organizer. No citizen should live in fear of leadership, says president. Government revenue surges by 30% in first 5 months of the year.
And in your top story tonight, the remanding of former Justice Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksa's son, Attorney-at-Law Rakita Rajapaksa, along with 2 others over the alleged acceptance of a 120 million rupee bribe, has also reignited debate over the compensation case related to the Express Pearl maritime disaster.
Speaking in Parliament today, SJB MP and Attorney-at-Law Ajit P. Pereira said that an investigation should be conducted into the handling of the Express Pearl compensation case, particularly whether adequate steps were taken to secure fair compensation for Sri Lanka.
May 15, 2021. The Express Pearl arrived in Colombo from Hazira port in India. The vessel was carrying 25 metric tons of nitric acid, 1,486 containers loaded with various chemicals and cosmetic products. May 19, 2021. The ship reached the waters off the port of Colombo and anchored approximately 9.5 nautical miles offshore while awaiting permission to enter the harbour. May 20th, 2021. A fire broke out aboard the Express Pearl. After burning for 13 days, the vessel was destroyed and eventually sank. The disaster caused severe damage to Sri Lanka's marine environment. Approximately 1,680 metric tons of plastic pellets were released into the sea. Chemicals from the ship contaminated the ocean, causing extensive environmental damage. More than 200 dead sea turtles were found washed ashore. Dead fish, whales and other marine life were also discovered along the coastline. It was later revealed that the vessel had arrived in Colombo while one of its containers was already leaking nitric acid. Reports also indicated that ports in Hamad, Qatar and Hazira, India had refused permission to unload the leaking container. In the aftermath of the disaster, various ministers and government officials made conflicting statements regarding the incident. Allegations also emerged of a $250 million bribe linked to the case. More than 5 years later, Sri Lanka is still awaiting fair compensation and adequate damages for one of the worst environmental disasters in its history. It was against this backdrop that MP Ajit P. Pereira addressed Parliament today on the Express Pearl disaster.
When there was
the possibility to file this case in Sri Lanka and jurisdiction existed here, why was the case taken to Singapore? When this matter was raised, even the functioning of the Parliamentary Committee was disrupted and representation from the Attorney General's Department was halted. The participation of the Attorney General's Department in Parliament was also stopped. I am now referring to a development that took place yesterday in this country. Individuals connected to that incident are also linked to this entire process. At such a time, when there is a need to investigate those who influenced the functioning and independence of the Attorney General's Department, and when the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption has already initiated an inquiry, a Supreme Court 5-judge bench decision was effectively set aside by an urgent ruling delivered by a 3-judge bench, abandoning the entire process. You may say that one cannot interfere with the Supreme Court decision. However, in the context of the country, the recommendations included in the Supreme Court ruling in relation to the Attorney General's Department must be addressed. Since you represent the Attorney General's Department, who is responsible for the situation that has brought disrepute to its independence? What is the progress of the investigations? as a government, will you take steps to investigate who was responsible for taking this case to Singapore and thereby contributing to its collapse there?
රජයේ වශයෙන් ඔබතුමා විමර්ශනය කිරීමට කටයුතු කරනවද?
In connection with the alleged 120 million rupee bribery case, the Samagi Jana Balawegaya has decided to immediately suspend the party membership and all positions held by its Horana electorate organizer Charit Abesinghe, who was remanded along with Rakita Rajapaksa. Issuing a statement, SJB General Secretary Ranjit Mathuma Bandara stated that Charit Abesinghe had not functioned as a member or organizer of the party as of 2023. The General Secretary further emphasized that the Samagi Jana Balawegaya does not oppose the enforcement of the law or the initiation of legal proceedings against individuals involved in corruption or illegal activities under any circumstances. Charita Besinghe, along with Rakita Rajapaksa and another individual, was remanded by court yesterday in connection with allegation of accepting a 120 million rupee bribe to facilitate the release of organized crime figure Nadun Chintaka, also known as Harakata, from detention orders and have him placed in remand custody.
Samagi Jana Balawegaya MP Ajit P. stated that if there are individuals within the party who commit wrongdoings, they will be punished. The ruling party also responded to this matter.
If there is someone within our party who is in the wrong, we punish them. We remove them from our party activities and take disciplinary action against them. However, a person can make a mistake, have shortcomings or feel remorse. I recognize the right of someone who has been found guilty by a court and given a suspended sentence to live a good life and move past that.
When appointing an individual who was deported from England after being convicted of money laundering to the party's executive committee and handing over the Horan electorate as an organizer, it is impossible that the opposition leader was unaware that this person was someone convicted and deported by a country. When there were qualified people in the party, the opposition leader chose to appoint a person of such character to party positions. I would like to ask Charita Besinghe, were the funds used to bring women from Horan to a hotel in Bellangvilla to give voice cuts against the government and create video clips and to pay for people to stand in queues so journalists could get those voice cuts, also the money earned from the bribes taken from the underworld as mentioned? When there were organizers in Horan who had been involved in politics for a long time, the opposition leader brought this person to the Horan electorate. We are ashamed of the fact that people with ties to underworld criminal activities are being brought in and given positions in their parties.
The Samagi Jana Balawegaya has an amazing group, specifically a member of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya's executive committee. The accusation is that he took bribes from the underworld and committed a fraud. That is to say, he took the bribe and didn't even do the job. He committed fraud even there. Being a member of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya's executive committee means being part of the party's leadership. They have been brought into the fold with such confidence. Entrusting someone with a task by the party leadership is not a small matter. If they are taking money by claiming they can transfer an underworld member or an organized crime group member from one position to another along with the former Justice Minister's son, just imagine what the previous system was like. Meanwhile, speaking at a press conference held today at the Samagi Jana Balawegaya party office, Gampaha organizer Warunadeep Rajapaksa made the following remarks.
We have now found information suggesting that Charita Besinghe during that period had served as a secretary in Vijayadasa Rajapaksa's chamber. If he was working as a secretary in the minister's chamber at that time, part of his duties would have included negotiating cases, meeting relevant individuals and holding discussions. So, whether this was such a discussion should be examined. We will look into what actually happened after the investigation reveals the facts. In connection with the allegation of accepting a 120 million rupee bribe from Harakata, Attorney-at-Law Gunaratna Wanninayaka made submissions in court yesterday when Attorney-at-Law Rakita Rajapaksa and two others were produced before the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court. He attempted to highlight that the professional rights of Attorney-at-Law Rakita Rajapaksa should not be violated. Excerpt.
Usually, when a complaint is received, the relevant investigative authority calls the individual to record a statement. But in this instance, nothing of that sort has happened. Instead, it is like storming a house as if in a military operation and dragging the individual away by the neck. Is this the respect accorded to an attorney in Sri Lanka? Is this the value of the Black Court? The privileges entitled to lawyers must be upheld. The Bribery Commission cannot bring in lawyers in this manner. This is an insult to our dignity. Because the father is a politician, they are targeting the son. Tomorrow, Your Honour, this could happen to you or me. That is why I am speaking on behalf of the rights of 28,000 lawyers in Sri Lanka.
End of excerpt. Meanwhile, OCCRP affiliated journalist Saroj Patirana questioned why the Bar Association appeared to intervene on behalf of an individual arrested over such serious criminal allegations. Journalist Saroj Patirana made a social media post in this regard. Excerpt.
Does this mean that even the main body representing lawyers in this country is bending before wealth, power and white-collar crime? The attorney Gunaratna Vaninayaka, appearing on behalf of the Bar Association, is asking the court to grant special privileges. As far as I know, the Bar Association has not uttered a single word about the safety of attorney Achara Senaviratna, who courageously represents victims of naval extortion gangs despite threats to life. What has the Bar Association done to ensure the safety of Dr. Ravindra Dabare, who handles critical cases like the Express Pearl case? Yet, the same Bar Association appears to defend a black-coated individual facing serious allegations of being a major racketeer. Is it because that individual's father is a president's counsel?
End of excerpt. Journalist Saroj Patirana further elaborated on the matter by citing various incidents and examples. Excerpt.
I am also surprised why the Bar Association did not stand up for the legal professional who was imprisoned in the UK for money laundering. Should lawyers and President's Counsel be granted special treatment regardless of any crime they commit? Are they above the law? We also have not forgotten how the Bar Association behaved when the people took to the streets against the Attorney General over alleged manipulation of the law. If this is how the Bar Association acts even in the face of such serious allegations, I am not saying they should be denied legal representation, but it is no surprise that the public views with suspicion the stance taken by the Bar Association on issues such as extending the retirement age of judges.
End of excerpt.
The Bar Association of Sri Lanka issued a statement this afternoon in response to this matter.
Excerpt. The BASL wishes to clarify that the role of the BASL in matters of this nature that pertain to members has been limited to observing the relevant proceedings pertaining to an attorney at law and reporting the same to the association for further steps. The Executive Committee of the BASL has not authorized any attorney at law to make submissions on its behalf during these proceedings, nor has the BASL taken any decision to make any representation on behalf of the said attorney at law. End of excerpt. Meanwhile, police state that they have begun interrogating an individual named Sampath alias Ami Matia, who was arrested at the Bandaranaike International Airport for a period of 72 hours. Police media spokesperson, Assistant Superintendent of Police F.U. Wootler stated that the suspect is currently in the custody of the Western Province North Crimes Division. The 41-year-old suspect, a resident of the Kottagoda area, was arrested by a team of Criminal Investigation Department officers last night after being deported to the country from Malaysia. The suspect is accused of being involved in the shooting incident on the 27th of July 2022 in front of the Gampaha court, which resulted in the murder of Paspodda and 2 others, as well as injuries to 2 more individuals. The Gampaha Division Crimes Investigation Bureau had issued a red notice regarding the suspect as the individual known as Ami Matia had fled the country and was in hiding.
President Anurukumara Dissanayake says that no citizen of the country should live in fear of its ruler.
President Dissanayake expressed these views while attending the ceremony to extend well wishes to the members of the Tri-Forces and the Sri Lanka Police who are scheduled to depart for United Nations peacekeeping missions.
President Anurukumara Dissanayake visited the Sri Lanka Light Infantry Regiment headquarters in Panagoda this morning to extend his well wishes to the troops departing for the United Nations peacekeeping missions. The contingent of 1,132 personnel includes 900 army soldiers from various regiments and 189 officers from the Police Special Task Force. Notably, for the first time in the country's military history, the departing group includes 43 female soldiers specifically trained in demining and neutralizing victim-activated devices. Deputy Minister of Defence, retired Major General Aruna Jayasekara, Secretary to the Ministry of Defence, retired Air Vice Marshal Sampath Tuyakonta, commanders of the Tri-Forces, the Inspector General of Police, Acting Ambassador of the US Embassy Jane Howell, Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Santosh Jha, and the parents of the departing peacekeeping members were among those present at the event. It is significant that this is the largest group of troops to depart from the country for peacekeeping missions, and it is the first time a president has attended an event to wish such a contingent well.
We must transform our country into one that possesses great international prestige and dignity. For that, we know we must create a state where the economy does not collapse. Once a country's economy collapses, its international prestige, reputation and honor also undergo a decline. Next, the rule of law must be properly established. Every citizen must fear the law and be subject to it. We must breathe life into the concept that everyone is equal before the law. We are in the process of building a state where everyone is subject to the law. It is difficult. Old habits exert influence. However, we are determined to work towards breathing life into the concept that everyone must be subject to the law. On the other hand, we must ensure the freedom of our citizens. No citizen of this country should live in fear of the ruler. Yet, for a long time, our citizens have lived in fear of the ruler. A country cannot move forward like that. Citizens have the right to criticize the ruler. Citizens have the right to organize for their rights against the ruler. If the people have elected us to the presidency, they have the right to question me. We must create a state that protects such free human rights.
The President also emphasized that the government bears the responsibility of protecting all security sector personnel of all ranks who have dedicated themselves to the security of the country's people or state security.
Our armed forces and our excellent officers have performed a great long-term service for our country. From our lowest ranking soldier to the army commander, from the police constable to the highest ranking inspector general of police, if any step has been taken for the security of this country, the security of its people, or for state security, we as a government are responsible for and committed to protecting every one of those steps. We have a responsibility to protect all those who have contributed to tasks carried out for the country's security, the freedom of the people and state security. However, if a small group, setting aside the reputation of the armed forces and their responsibilities, has done things unsuitable for the military or things not expected of the military, we are prepared to take action regarding them for the sake of the military's reputation, the protection of victims and the dignity of our country. We must do that. None of this is for personal revenge or personal vendettas. I believe that for the sake of the honor and reputation of the military, we must conduct these investigations and disclose them to society. Our honor depends on that. It does not depend on sweeping committed crimes under the sand and burying them.
අපගේ ගෞරවය රඳා පවතින්නේ සිදුවී තිබෙන අපරාධයන් වැලිවලට යට ගහලා වලලීමෙන් නොවේ.
Deputy Minister of Finance and Planning, Dr. Anil Jayantha Fernando stated that the government aims to strengthen public financial management in a manner that does not place pressure on future generations. He made these remarks while presenting the government's fiscal strategy statement to Parliament.
Deputy Minister of Finance Dr. Anil Jayantha Fernando noted that the key objectives of the government's fiscal strategy include rebuilding public financial stability following the economic crisis, bringing public debt to a sustainable level, improving government revenue, managing expenditure prudently, and promoting public investment necessary for economic growth.
Foreign remittances have recorded a notable increase of 26% compared to the first 5 months of last year, further strengthening the confidence of the Sri Lanka expats. In 2025, we were able to record a primary surplus of 5.4% of gross domestic product, the highest in Sri Lanka's history. As a result, the public debt ratio also declined in 2025 compared to 2024.
The Deputy Minister further stated that total revenue from January to May 2026 recorded a significant growth of 30.6% compared to the same period last year. By the end of May 2026, total government revenue had reached 2,536.8 billion rupees. This includes 1,096 billion rupees collected by the Inland Revenue Department and 1,079 billion rupees generated by Sri Lanka Customs.
By 2031, we aim to reduce public debt to 95% of GDP, maintain a minimum primary surplus of 2.6% of GDP from 2027 onwards, sustain government revenue about 15% of GDP, maintain primary expenditure at 13% of GDP in 2027 with a nominal value of 5,064 billion rupees, ensure public investment remains at 4.4% of GDP from 2027 and keep the budget deficit below 5% of GDP over the medium term.
The minister stated that the overall objective is to achieve debt sustainability, maintain fiscal discipline, enhance transparency and accountability, and ensure long-term economic stability.
Weather first.
Let's now take a look at the weather forecast for today.
Martin Sathanesan has the details. Martin.
Thank you, Teruni and Krishan. Taking a look at your weather update this afternoon, the Department of Meteorology say that a temporary increase in rainfall can be expected in the southwestern parts of the island in the afternoon and over the next few days. The department also announced that a few spells of rain may occur in the western Savaragabua and the north-western provinces, as well as in the Gaul, Mathura, Kandy and Nuwara districts. Showers or thunder showers may occur at several places in the Uva and eastern provinces and in the Mullaitivu districts in the afternoons. Fairly strong winds blowing at speeds of about 30 to 40 kilometers per hour can be expected from time to time in the western slopes of the central islands, in the north, north-central, northwestern and southern provinces and in the Trincomalee district.
Weather first.
News First.
Main sponsor.
2 countries, 2 degrees within 4 years. Call ACBT.
Watch the FIFA World Cup live, where the best football teams in the world compete. Live matches, Rewind TV, highlights, reels. Watch it all for free. Download the Pure mobile app now.
Welcome back to the news. Sri Lanka has emerged as the world's top trending wellness travel destination for 2026, recording a remarkable 100% surge in global demand. Now, this is according to data highlighted by Time Out Asia, which is part of Time Out Worldwide, citing the latest State of Retreats 2026 report by bookretreats.com.
The State of Retreats 2026 report by bookretreats.com reveals a significant shift in global travel trends, with wellness tourism rapidly gaining ground as travelers move beyond traditional holidays focused on leisure and sightseeing. Instead, more tourists are seeking experiences centered on health, mindfulness and rejuvenation. Sri Lanka's top ranking comes as the country records the highest year-on-year growth in wellness travel interest on the bookretreats.com platform. Sri Lanka is widely known for its authentic, doctor-led Ayurvedic traditions, with practices dating back more than 2,000 years, offering visitors a deeply rooted wellness experience. Affordability has also contributed to Sri Lanka's appeal, with 3 to 4 day wellness retreats starting at approximately $372.18, making it an attractive option compared to other global destinations. Beyond cost advantages, Sri Lanka's unique geographical features enhance its standing as a wellness hotspot. With 2 monsoon seasons, the island offers year-round beach experiences, ensuring favorable weather conditions on at least one coast at any given time. The presence of iconic wildlife, including wild elephants and offshore blue whales, provides travelers with enriching experiences beyond traditional wellness activities such as yoga and herbal treatments. Globally, Sri Lanka leads the rankings, followed by Australia, Morocco, England, Spain, Nepal, Thailand, Mexico, Costa Rica, and Canada, highlighting a diverse mix of destinations benefiting from the growing wellness travel trend.
The Asian Development Bank has approved a $57.4 million financing package to support Sri Lanka's efforts to expand access to affordable clean energy and reduce greenhouse gas emissions through an ambitious rooftop solar aggregation and virtual net metering initiative.
The financing package includes $35 million concessional loan, $16.9 million in grants from the European Union, and a $5.5 million from the Japan Fund for the joint crediting mechanism. With additional counterpart funding from implementing agencies, the total estimated project cost stands at $80.5 million. The rooftop solar aggregation and virtual net metering project will enable two government-owned utilities, Electricity Distribution Lanka Private Limited and Lanka Electricity Company Private Limited, to roll out a scalable model that pools electricity generated from large rooftop solar systems and redistributes it virtually to eligible consumers. This model allows multiple users to benefit from solar power without the need to install rooftop panels individually.
The feast of the Shrine of Our Lady of Madhu, a centuries-old tradition, is celebrated annually on the 2nd of July. Now, thousands of Catholic devotees gather to celebrate this holy festival. A special discussion on the arrangements for the feast at the Madhu Shrine in Mannar was held today.
A special discussion on the arrangements for the annual July feast of the Madhu Shrine was held today at the Shrine's auditorium under the leadership of the Vicar General of Mannar District, Reverend Father Tamil Nason, and the District Secretary for Mannar. The meeting was attended by the administrator of the Our Lady of Madhu Shrine, Reverend Father Pepi Suzay, along with heads of government departments and other officials. Discussions focused on the preparations for the feast, which is scheduled to be held on the 2nd of July.
Considering the current dengue situation across the country, preventive measures have also been implemented at the Madhu Shrine. Fogging operations are being carried out and continuous inspections are underway in the surrounding areas to identify and eliminate mosquito breeding sites that could spread dengue. The situation is currently under full control. All arrangements have been made for the festival mass. The Vesper service will begin at 6 p.m. on the 1st of July, starting with the recitation of the Holy Rosary. The following day, the 2nd of July, the festival high mass will commence promptly at 6:15 a.m. and will be celebrated by the bishops and the priests.
Watch the FIFA World Cup live, where the best football teams in the world compete. Live matches, Rewind TV, highlights, reels. Watch it all for free. Download the Pure mobile app now.
Rescuers are continuing their search through rubble for thousands of people who are still missing in Venezuela after two devastating earthquakes struck on Wednesday night.
Authorities have raised their estimate of the death toll to 589 people as of this evening. Biara brings us more on this.
Yes, Krishan and Theruni. Now, as rescuers comb through the rubble, every passing hour matters. The first 72 hours after a major earthquake are widely regarded as the most critical period for saving lives. During that window, emergency responders race to free survivors before dehydration, crush injuries and collapsing buildings dramatically reduce the chances of survival. Here's more details.
One of the defining features of major earthquakes is that the true scale of the disaster often remains unclear for days. In the first hours, casualty reports usually emerge piecemeal from local officials, hospitals and the emergency services before a national picture begins to form. Within 24 hours, Health Minister Carlos Alvarado said the number of people had risen to at least 235, with more than 4,300 injured. As the hours turn into days, officials expect the death toll to rise as more missing people are confirmed dead. In all, the USGS has estimated there was a potential for between 10,000 and 100,000 deaths using its prompt assessment of global earthquake response system. 80 rescue workers and 18 tons of supplies have arrived from Switzerland, according to Venezuela's state broadcaster. They arrived in the early hours of Friday morning, and the team also includes 8 search dogs. It adds that Switzerland was one of the first countries to offer an emergency response after the earthquakes. Rescue personnel with supplies have also arrived from Mexico, according to Venezuela's acting president Delcy Rodriguez. U.S. Southern Command said earlier that one of its senior military officials had arrived to oversee its support efforts. Foreign nationals are among those confirmed to have died, although as with much of the information coming out of the country since Wednesday's earthquakes, we still do not know the full picture and search efforts are continuing. The Spanish foreign minister says the number of Spanish nationals confirmed dead has risen to 3 and 99 are now missing. A Brazilian man and a Brazilian woman have died, according to the country's foreign ministry. Chinese state media cites the Chinese embassy in Caracas as saying last night that 2 Chinese nationals had been confirmed dead. An Italian Venezuelan has been confirmed dead, Italian media reports confirmed, citing the foreign ministry, which adds there is a large Italian community in Venezuela and it is very difficult at this time to estimate how many are missing. 9 Portuguese nationals have died, the AFP news agency reports, citing the country's foreign ministry.
And in sports news tonight, it's football. Now, well, Teruni, the 2026 FIFA World Cup is heating up with a number of teams securing their place in the Super 32 round.
Yes, Krishan, it is heating up indeed. Let's now cross over to Viara Virakun, who has all the details from the Football Corner.
4 teams secured their place in the Super 32 round following matches played early this morning in the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Now, Ivory Coast, Netherlands, Japan and Australia secured their place in the Super 32 round. The Ivory Coast side stood out among all teams. Ivory Coast faced Curacao yesterday in Philadelphia, USA, with an audience with more than 68,000 spectators. Ivory Coast secured a dominating 2-0 victory. Now, with this win, they finished second in Group E and qualified for the Super 32 for the first time in their history. Now, the match was held at the Kansas City Stadium. The Netherlands topped Group F and advanced to the round of 32.
that is a wrap of your prime time news for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Take care, good night, and God bless.